Hi, here we are at High End Munich again for the last time in Munich, which is very exciting. Next year we're going to be in Vienna. I'm here with Vivien Falize from Esprit High End Audio, who's, you might know Esprit from their cables, but they've moved on a little bit in the last couple of years, haven't you?
Yeah. So first, hello everybody, I'm Vivien Falize, the sales manager of Esprit High End Audio, the French company. So you know, Esprit High End Audio first making high end audio cable directly handmade in France. So now, since last year, we take a decision to make a new challenge, and we launch a proper line of loudspeaker. During the last Munich show, we launched the two first reference, the Stella, the bookshelf, and the Amelia, the floor standing, and now we are present here for the last edition in Munich to launch Lisa, the third reference.
This is a much bigger speaker. It's
yeah. It's the grand sister of Amelia. Yeah.
And you've got an AM tweeter in there, AMT tweeter in there. You've got
The common technology of the line. We use the EMT tweeter, different size, but different reference. Here we use the EMT tweeter 16 centimeter. We use two driver. It's a 2.5 way speaker. We use a two driver made by CIS, specially made for us. The specificity of the driver is an Alnico motor. The membrane is in paper with an external treatment on this, and the bullet in a copper. After that, I think it's interesting to speak about the shape of the cabinet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shape of the cabinet.
It is an unusual shape, but it's a really organic looking loudspeaker that I think would fit in pretty much any home, and it's not too big a speaker.
No. You know, the Esprit speaker and the Esprit cable is the same company, same guys behind, and so the same philosophy. The first thing, we want to develop a musical product for the musical lover, and we don't want a big and fat speaker with a big dimension, big weight, and like that. We try to obtain a beautiful shape, organic shape. We have no parallel line in the cabinet, no dumping system inside. That's why it's really interesting. It's just sandwich technology, you know. Okay. 4 centimeter, very heavy cabinet, MDF, bitumen MDF.
So the bitumen is there to damp the cabinet,
yes? Yes. So I think the size is a very good size for the living room. It's just to, you listen to music every day, you live with your product every day. That's why. We have 3 different standard finish: white, black, and walnut, matte, satin and matte, or high gloss. It depends on your wife.
And are these bass reflex, or the?
Yeah, we have a bass reflex behind. And for the floor standing Amelia and Lisa, we develop a room coupling technology.
What's that?
Room coupling. When you buy the PiG speaker, inside the box, you have 4 different connectors with 4 different values. During the setup of your speaker, you put the connector behind the speaker, and you choose different connectors, depend the acoustic of your room. You influence, you don't influence the crossover, the cut frequencies or like that. You just influence the curve.
So this makes the speaker tunable to your own room?
Yes, it's a kind of fine tuning. Depend the living room of the acoustic condition of the room. If you want to obtain, for example, more sensation of more bass frequencies, or you want to obtain a softness high frequencies or like that, you choose between 4 different connectors.
And do the connectors come with the speakers?
Yes,
so
of course. Yes, it's inside.
Choose each one.
It's inside with a very simple paper with explanation, just that. And the customer and the dealer choose the best configuration for the room.
And how would you describe the sound? Obviously, you've got that massive AMT tweeter. Where does that cross over? What frequency?
About the crossover, the crossover is about Amelia or Lisa is a 6 dB crossover. We choose, for example, we just choose a raised component of the crossover. For example, about the capacitor, we choose a Dunlop company.
So really high quality components.
Really high company. We choose between Dunlop and Mondorf. Very raised component, no compromise. Exactly the same philosophy than the cable. We use the best material for the cable for obtain the best musical results. Exactly the same for the crossover, the cabinet, the driver, etc.
And inside, are they wired with your own cables? Or?
Yes, we use the proper cable, of course.
Of course.
For Amelia, we use the same base of Eterna and Aura, is a middle range in the catalog. And for the Lisa, we use the same base of Aura. Lumina is depend, but Lumina is the beginning of the high level in the catalog.
Which makes sense.
Yes.
That sounds like a very expensive speaker, but I know the price, and it's not. It's expensive, but it's not stupidly expensive. In the world of high-end audio, we've just been in a room where we've looked at a speaker that is £385,000.
Yeah.
And I know that this is around a tenth of that price, yeah? Around about 38 grand?
Yeah, 38,000 euro.
Okay.
The most challenge is musical product with musical price.
Okay.
We don't want to launch expensive product just because it's a luxury high-end audio. High-end audio is not a synonym of luxury.
Okay.
For Esprit, high-end audio is a synonym of just organic and musical sound, emotion.
So back to, we talked about the customer being able to change the sound of the speaker.
Yeah.
Do they do that themselves, or do you have people go? Does the dealer go around and install the speaker and play with the sound, or is that purely down to the listener?
You speak about the connector behind the.
Yes.
Yeah. When I send a per speaker directly to my dealer, the dealership, for example, I make a recommendation. Of course, you have a standard fine setup. This is the black connector, for example. All connectors have different color. The black connector is the standard, is the Esprit high-end audio standard configuration. All dealers use the standard configuration because normally all dealers are professional with good acoustic in a good condition. So final customer, it's difficult to say to the final customer, so please sir, apply a acoustic panel on the left, on the right, a bass trap on the roof, or back the system, front the system, like that. That's why we take the decision to make 3 new connector to give them a help.
So it's a more home-friendly way to tune your loudspeaker rather than going down the route of panels and acoustic treatment in your room, which makes sense to a lot of people. I think people these days, they want a system and a loudspeaker that fits in with their home environment and their lifestyle, and I think that's very important. And looking at the speaker, it's the first time I've seen it in the last sort of 10 minutes or so, but it's a very beautiful thing. Who's the design person behind it?
Richard Cesari, the founder, designed this. Of course, we develop all the speaker in the company. The speaker are made in the company. The driver from CIS, of course.
And everything's fabricated apart from the drivers and the bits that make up the thing. Everything is made in France.
Yes, the cable, the crossover, assembled the unit driver, the AMT, in the same place in France, southwest of France, just near Bordeaux.
Charente, yeah?
Yes, in Charente. Speaker and cable, all products assembled and handmade directly in France, in the same place, the same workshop.
And how important do you think that made in France concept is to the end buyer?
For me, made in France is not just you receive a box, you make a screw. It's not a made in France. Made in France for me, you have a human behind the product, you have team behind the product to work every day. It's not assemble the product. You develop the product, you think, you made some stuff, okay, all right. Sometimes if you want to obtain the best product, it's necessary to go outside, just to find a strong knowledge outside. You take the best component of here, the best component of here, and you make your kitchen recipe. Some brand made in France, made in Italy, made in blah, blah, blah. It's just a stick on the box. That's why in Esprit High End Audio, it's not a secret. So many different dealer, partner, or journalists come to the company to say video shoot or photo session, or just to welcome home. And I show you.
You mentioned the team there, and I thought one of the interesting things, you've got a very strong family kind of feel to the team. And last year, you and Richard brought the whole team to Munich.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really cool touch.
Yeah, we want. It's really important for me. Every day I have a relation with the team workshop, the office team, and etc. and blah blah blah. And sometimes the workshop just do the cable every day, do the speaker every day. For me, the best thing is just 2 years ago, I think 1 year or 2 years ago, I don't remember. I take all the company to the Munich show. It's a gift for the team, but it's interesting. It's a training session for the team because the team really appreciate the trip. You see your product in the display. You meet a lot of partner, and you walk around the show. You enjoy the show, and you are very proud about your product.
Absolutely.
It's exactly the same than, for example, Louis Vuitton. For example, is a French brand. You have the couturier making a Louis Vuitton bag. It's really important for me to push the human side on the front and to say hello to my partner, say hello, this is the team. The cable is this man, this woman, this man. It's not just a cable.
Which is a really interesting thing. And I think a lot of brands are very faceless. Whereas you guys, you've got Richard, who is very much at the forefront of the brand. And you, I know you travel pretty much non-stop, and you have travelled non-stop for the last 3 years. But that's important, and it gets across the fact that behind the technology and all the rest of it, there are people that care passionately about the music and bringing that musical enjoyment to an audience.
That's why we try to do the best. During the Munich show, for example, we build a nice room in a nice condition for maybe you have just 2 minutes to convince the guys who take a seat. A nice listening session, nice demonstration, just 2 minutes for that. The team is passionate about music. We are not a marketing or bullshit company or like that, because if you say a lot of bullshit,
Yeah, absolutely. People
the
see
final customer, the dealer, the partner is not stupid. At the end, you lose.
Absolutely.
Esprit company exists since 1997. We are French, we are not English or US. The native market is smaller, but every years later we are here, and we continue.
So we've met you all around the world. We've met you in America, we've met you in Hong Kong.
Yes.
So what is the Asian market like for you guys?
The Asian market is really interesting about the high-end stuff, really high-end stuff. This year, I think it's exactly the same for all. This year is a tough year, okay? But Asian market, if you want to launch a high-end price, but high-end musicality, because the Asian people is
Not the same thing?
Yeah. Really interesting about that. So for the moment, we just feel a kind of changement. Singapore, for example, Thailand, some kind of country, really good now. Hong Kong and Chinese, not really stop, but just slowly if you compare than last year.
Yeah.
But in generally, we are really happy about, for example, totally opposite US. So
last year we had the much smaller speaker range,
Yeah.
and now we've got Lisa.
yes.
The future, what are you going to build something big, a statement piece?
Yeah, our objective, we want at the final 5 different reference. 5 different reference. For the moment, in 1 year, we launched 3 reference. Represent a lot of work. We work on some prototype for the moment. Really high-end prototype, of course, because we want to push the limit at the maximum. Not for next year, I think, take time for that. Maybe stay tuned, maybe for the first Vienna audio show. Make me a little surprise for the customer. Little floor standing and like that, I don't know.
So you've partnered with Karan this year?
Yes, this year we have a partnership with Karan Acoustics, Serbian brand, making a really quality electronic
How did that
stuff.
come about? How did that partnership come about?
Oh, because I know Emil Karan, the sons of the founder. I know Mladen since many years now, and we have it's a common sense when it's a question about human relation, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
when I met this team, we speak automatically about music. We don't speak about technical, blah, 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 blah. No, speak about music, feeling, emotion,
And I
like
think
that.
we went to see Roger Waters, and
Yeah.
we were
Yes.
all three of us were just so enthused about going to see.
That's why, yeah.
And it's about the music. It's about the passion.
It's not a question about a salesman or journalist or boss or politic, or we don't care. We just take a seat, enjoy the moment.
Absolutely.
And we share exactly the same feelings about music. With Karan Acoustic, for example, we have some different partnership with Diptyque, you know, the acoustic panel,
yeah.
for example.
Another French brand, Diptyque.
Yeah, as another French brand, I try to making a kind of new partnership with Technics, for example.
Okay.
Technics France, for example, using a Esprit cable now.
Oh.
Like Yamaha. Yamaha France using a Esprit cable now. So we try to meet interesting people and just to create a musical moment.
Okay. I think one of the things that I found with Esprit, and I said it earlier on, there is that sort of, you're obviously very passionate about the product.
Yep.
Richard is very passionate about the product. I met some of the team last year or 2 years ago, whenever it was, and every single person that I speak to from Esprit is hugely passionate about it, and passionate about the product. They know music, they love music. You've got saxophones out there, you've got musical instruments out there, and you can see that you guys are just, you're about the music, and I love that.
Come on, you work in the hi-fi industry.
Absolutely.
We don't sell a car, or we don't sell a food, or...
We sell, I like to call these kind of products machines for joy.
Yep.
And I think that's what music should, these products, they're just the conduit through which we get joy from music, and that's what it should be about. And I think you guys have nailed the marketing and the products and everything else. I think you've done a cracking job.
No, we know that. We know that some people want technical information. It's important, of course. But at the end, if you have the best technical shit, but when you take a seat, you press play, nothing.
No emotion.
No emotion. You forget your perfect technical shit. That's why.
Absolutely. Vivien, a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for your time.
Me too, Stu.